Good morning. Happy New Year. It's going to be an exciting year. Not that last year wasn't exciting, but each year just seems like intensity is increasing. Have you noticed that? Certainly over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've experienced a magnificent creative energy. So much of it can be measured and recognized and studied through astrology and astronomy. I was looking at one of the questions here. I don't know what an odical cycle is from one of our web viewers, and which reminds me, thank you for joining our webcast, and we're all welcome, of course, but I don't know what that cycle is, so I can't answer the question. But anyway, we certainly are in the times where people believe that the externalization of the Christ is occurring. And that means something a little bit different to esoteric students than the more Christian-oriented person. And I think to us what that means is the divine nature within a human being coming into manifestation now, or closer into manifestation now, because each of us has the principle of the Christ, within. So this morning I'm going to be addressing that issue remotely, meaning I'm going to be talking about spiritual fires and initiation. So this morning I'm talking about spiritual fire and initiation. It is actually a bit advanced, and I ask you to really, as much as you can, stay concentrated, with me, with the content of the lecture. And you can either then follow up this morning's lecture by listening to the video on YouTube that Terry will be putting up later today. Or if you don't have YouTube in your car, well, you know what cars are these days, anything's possible. But I think they put YouTube in the back seat for the kids to watch, on the screen. Anyway, you're welcome to order the DVD. I think this talk is that important. So it's important that you gradually begin to understand it. Now, some of it you will understand it very clearly, but there are parts of it that are very deep and very challenging. But I decided to share the information with you this morning as a challenge. Challenge to you, challenge to me, challenge to all of us as we enter into the new year, and to see if we can't take this information and apply it to our day-to-day spiritual life. In the initiation ceremonies, when our consciousness expands beyond its limits and penetrates into a new plane, the heart center and the head center play a great role. So this will be the first part of the talk, where we're going to think about what that role is that the heart and the head center play as we take an initiation, as our consciousness expands beyond its present limitations, and we move into that next plane of experience. The head center and the heart center play a great role. And what is very surprising, I think, is that with each initiation, these centers undergo a very painful pressure. So that would be another note that you want to, keep in your mind, that as you go through, particularly the major initiations, of which there are, in this world, there are 4, and then as our beingness expands into the level of becoming an arhat and a master and a kohan, and goes into the 9th initiation. You know, those initiations beyond even our imagination, even though we can read about them in the teachings. It's the first 4 that we're concerning ourselves with. These are 4 major initiations, but there are sub-initiations that go. You know, there are 7 sub-initiations to every major initiation. So each initiation that we undergo, there is painful pressure that is put upon the head and the heart center. And this is the point. Those who cannot stand the pressure are not allowed to enter into the ceremony when you reach that major initiatory ceremony, that major initiatory experience. For example, it is impossible for one to take advanced initiations with a wounded heart, because it will have a disastrous effect upon your life. Not just in this lifetime, but in several incarnations. Now I'm going to explain what a wounded heart is. It's not the common understanding of a bleeding heart. Or I've been rejected and damaged and now I'm wounded. It's not that. It's not that kind of a wounded heart. You know, this is very scientific. A wounded heart occurs by every harmful thought. Every harmful thought, in other words, wounds the heart. Harmful expressions, harmful feelings, harmful words, harmful attitudes, all these points that do not agree with the principle of love and compassion wounds the heart. So needless to say, there are a lot of wounded hearts walking around the planet today, even with advanced spiritual people. Now, these wounds accumulate. Incarnation after incarnation, hundreds of incarnations. This accumulation then makes it impossible for us to stand in the pressure of the master and pass through the initiations. So if you wonder why in the year 2000 you didn't take that 3rd initiation, now you know why. Because on one hand it was a protection from that pressure that would have damaged you severely for several incarnations. But on the other hand, and this is why I wanted to share the information this morning, is that we can have an opportunity. We're going to put ourselves into an environment where we will have an opportunity to begin to heal those wounds. Where is this opportunity, and what kind of an environment are we going to put ourselves in? And that is to find a spiritual teacher. It is the earthly teacher that will prepare us to heal the wounds. Earthly teachers help prepare us for our future initiations. So obviously, you know, if this is new information, if you don't know what it means to have a spiritual teacher, if the teachings are new to you, all I ask is that, you know, you don't shut yourself down. Keep your mind open. Put the ideas on the shelf, on the bookshelf, because later you're going to take that book down because something will trigger your memory. And you're going to take that book down, or you're going to take that YouTube video down, or that DVD out of the case. Say, I can remember this. And wow, does it make sense to me now? So earthly teachers help prepare us for our future incarnations. The earthly teacher provides attention that encourages what? Provides attention that encourages purification. Purification of these accumulated wounds from hundreds of incarnations. This gives us a little bit of an idea of what it means to come into an incarnation where we have made such a choice to move on to the path of initiation, and where our beautiful divine self, our unfolding human soul, has made such a choice, to come into, to put itself in such an environment, to find a teacher that is going to encourage us by creating tension and pressure, giving us these opportunities to heal these many, many hundreds of incarnations of accumulated wounds. Wounds that made it impossible for us to pass through initiation. Remember, the earthly spiritual teacher stands as an enemy to our personality life, but is a lover to our soul. See, that means nothing to us except, words on a piece of paper until we expose ourselves to such a teacher. We expose our wounds to such a teacher, then we understand what it means when that teacher is an enemy to our personality and a lover of our soul. My experience with my own spiritual teachers was exactly like that. They provided me with a multitude of challenges to eradicate the wounds of many lifetimes. Those challenges created tension, and the tension created a pressure that could only be relieved if healed through hard work, steady striving, and a willingness to change. See, there is no excuse possible when we have a willingness to change ourselves. We can't say, well, my mom was this way and my dad was that way, and this is why I am the way I am today. Or that we can say, because I live in this country or in that country, that's why I am the way I am today. Or some people even use their astrology charts. India particularly, is a country that uses astrology as a caste system, saying, if I was born with my sun in this and moon in there and rising sign here, then this is why I am the way I am, and I have no opportunity to change myself. But that's not the Western system, and that's not the esoteric system. In the esoteric system, we are trying to surpass our limitations. And to surpass our limitations means that we are going to have to change ourselves for the good, for the better, to advance. So at times I would not understand why the ways of these teachers, why they challenged me. And I would think they were working against me, against my joy, against my happiness, against my sense of self. Even sometimes I would look at my life and say, my God, what's this life all about? But as we engage in meditation and engage in exercises like this visualization exercise this morning, it begins to break up into pieces all of these misconceptions of who we are and what life is about. And we reach a point where then we begin to see the wisdom of the teacher and the beauty of the choice that our soul made to move into an environment where we found a teacher that is the enemy to our personality and the lover of our soul. As I worked on each challenge, eventually that aha moment arrived, and I could totally understand the challenge. So it was through such experiences I learned about true love, the love that such a teacher has for a person's soul. I finally understood what it says in the book Challenge for Discipleship, that the true teacher is an enemy to our personality. Our personality life is the life of the walking wounded. Okay? We discover that. And then remember, Christ said there is no greater healing energy than love. So we have to determine, we have to decide for ourselves that we are worth that kind of love. I think in these self-help groups and addictive groups and 12-step groups and so forth, within all these types of groups, there is one that talks about tough love. And I think that they had a sense of what tough love is all about, but they didn't open the door to the cause behind the tough love. Tough love is being an enemy to the personality life, to those wounded hearts, and giving that person an opportunity to bring the beauty of their soul into manifestation. So how do these wounds occur? For example, the crown in the head center. Remember I said the head center and the heart center were two very important centers as we go through these initiations. The crown in the head center is wounded every time we deceive, cheat, manipulate, misdirect, misinform, or fall into greed, fanaticism, vanity, separatism, and ego. That's the head center. Becomes wounded. If we cannot heal ourselves from these wounds, then when the wounded heart and crown center enter into pressurized spheres of energies, they produce embodiments of darkness. Now that's not dark forces. Embodiments of darkness is ignorance and blindness. The wounds of the heart are harmful thoughts, expression, feeling, words, attitudes, all these things I just mentioned a few minutes ago, are attitudes that do not agree with the principle of love and compassion. Okay? Okay. The wounds of the crown center, to repeat myself, are cheating, greed, manipulation, fanaticism, vanity, separatism, and activities along those lines. To stand in the pressure of the earthly teacher pales in comparison when standing in front of the pressure of a master. Either way, it's extremely difficult to face that person when one is wounded. We find ingenious ways, to escape from that pressure. And that's the personality trying to run away, run away, run away. We find excuses. We retreat. We isolate ourselves. There's so many ways that we escape. From the beginning, the neophyte is advised to strive for purity. So now, we're moving into the next stage of, okay, what are we going to do about these wounds? We're going to strive for purity. We're going to learn concentration. And then we're going to live in compassion. Purity Listen to this. Purity is the greatest shield that a person can have. And it is in purity that the spiritual energies then transform our physical, emotional, and mental bodies. So we are going to study through these next months of 2013 how to purify ourselves. What does the teaching say about purification? And to repeat myself, it is in purity that the spiritual energies can transform our bodies and allow the consciousness to work upon a higher plane. So if you found the visualization exercise difficult this morning, now you know why. We have yet to learn concentration. As we learn concentration, we will be able to function very easily in the and with the substance of the higher mental plane. Concentration allows an initiate to hold the energy, okay? To hold the energy and direct it to the proper location. Compassion opens the initiate to the influence of cosmic law. What does that cosmic law have anything? Because the cosmic law of this solar system of life is compassion. The great law of compassion. The great cosmic law of compassion. So concentration, meditation, and contemplation prepare us to stand in the pressure of the great ones and pass the fire of initiation unharmed but with a new glory. Okay, I'm going to give you a little insight about short pictures of what purity is, what concentration is, and compassion. Okay, purity is the absence of illusion and glamour and Maya. The absence of illusion, glamour, and Maya. That's purity. Concentration is to hold the focus of energies and to be able to record the mystery of initiation. It's concentration. To hold the focus of energy and be able to record the mystery of initiation. And compassion builds the network of communication with the highest laws and the highest energies of the universe. Now, beginners on the path do not realize, we do not realize the importance of pressure and tension and the power to stand in this pressure and tension. Every advancement, every test, every crisis, and every opportunity for service passes one through pressure and tension. I'm going to repeat this so that you really get it and think about it. Beginners do not realize the importance of pressure. Now think about the teacher putting pressure on us, being in that field of tension, and the power to stand in that pressure and in that tension. Every advance, every test, every crisis, and every opportunity for service passes us through pressure and tension. Those who can pass through can achieve greater positions in the service of the field of the Most High. We are told that at the first initiation, the initiate becomes aware of something. At that first initiation, the initiate becomes aware of the love aspect of the solar angel. And this is not physical, lustful kind of immoral love, or even a pleasant, love relationship. It goes way beyond that. The love aspect of the solar angel, where the solar angel can be an enemy to our personality and a lover to our divine spark. And the initiate then begins to direct his or her intelligence to the group activity in accordance with the plan. Cooperation with the plan increases as we travel toward the third initiation. Okay, I messed up here. The first initiation is that first aspect, which is the intelligent aspect. After we take that first initiation, we move into the second, and then we take that energy of love and intelligence, and we're going to move into the next, which is a third initiation, directing the intelligence, directing the love. The first aspect of the solar angel is the will aspect. So we have the third aspect, the second aspect, and then the first aspect. Okay? I know I'm confusing you a little bit, sorry. During the third initiation, we become impressed by the purpose which the masters know and serve. Imagine that, at the third initiation, to be impressed by the purpose and then strive to live according to that divine purpose. At the fourth initiation, it is here we release ourselves from these three aspects and climb up into the Buddhic level. The fourth initiation is the beginning of the superhuman path. This becomes a vision for us. At this level, the initiate uses the intelligence and love and will, which are aspects of her what? Core. Intelligence, love, and will. These aspects of the initiate's core, and prepares herself or himself to become a master of the wisdom. So the initiation process is the process of expansion of consciousness, and it is controlled by the triple fires. For example, the first initiation is taking, when it takes place, it uses the internal fires, or what's called the latent fires, the internal fires, which then fuse and blend with the mental fires. The internal fires at the first initiation begin to blend and fuse with the mental fires. To take further initiations, these internal fires and the solar, which is the mental fire, enables the soul to get ready to move into and to prepare itself to destroy the chalice. Now, it's very interesting, this is the science of it, is if we take the internal fire and blend it with the solar fire, and then blend and fuse it with the spiritual fires, all these three fires then begin to stimulate the chalice. Now, there's no time this morning, obviously, to talk about the chalice and the correspondence of the petals of this lotus or chalice has with the whole human constitution. But we can just imagine this energy surging through these centers along our spine and the corresponding glands and organs, which is the purification process. When we get to the fourth initiation, there is a combustion of fire, which enables finally our human soul to destroy the chalice and step into that Buddhic or intuitional plane. It's there the three fires purify the physical, body, making the chakras along the spine more radioactive. The solar fire, you might find this interesting, it's the solar fire, that mental fire, that purifies the emotional correspondence of the etheric spine and chakras, and it is the spiritual fire that purifies the mental correspondence of these chakras. All bodies are purified in such a degree that the spiritual fire circulates. I can't really do that. Circulates without friction. Imagine that. This is the stage that we call the transfiguration initiation. The next initiation, the fourth, is taken through the agency of the spiritual fire, which releases itself through burning the petals of the chalice. And the human soul becomes emancipated from the limitations of the personality life. Now, just as a side note, I want to tell you, in the media, throughout this whole year, become aware of the word limitations. Surpassing limitations. This is an important phrase because you're going to see. Why is it important, you ask? Because this is showing us the humanity as a body, as a unit, is ready to move forward. Maybe unconsciously. But I've already become aware of it in the last week, about that word, limitations and surpassing. It's very exciting. The teaching of the hierarchy has one main purpose, which is to make us release our core and use that energy to destroy hindrances around us and provide a continuous source of energy for our creative actions and sacrificial actions. As a result, we work and suffer while the energy continues to radiate and pour into our system. The teacher shows us how to release the energy of this spirit and make ourselves resurrected human beings. To be a resurrected, or we could even use the term ascended, human being is one who is in ultimate freedom. Freedom from all the limitations of her nature and the nature of all who live on this planet. Radioactivity. Now we're moving into another phase of the talk. Are you still with me? By the way, the iPad is shut down, so I can't see any questions this morning, but you can email me. Okay. staff@wmea-world.org. Radioactivity. Radioactivity is a process of release. Radioactivity is a process of release of the nucleus in the atom, or, in our understanding, the release of the soul from the bodies or vehicles in which he is bottled. I was thinking how the people that I have been with, when they are in the process of passing on into the other worlds, always talk about how they feel trapped, how they feel bottled, how they feel stuck. See, now their soul is trying to release itself from these bodies. We want to try to do this while we are conscious and awake. Now, once released, the soul or the nucleus seeks two things. He seeks either to form a system with more advanced electrons and protons, meaning co-workers and friends, and to be more useful or to be more useful to the purpose of life as a whole. Or he seeks to become a far more advanced soul. So the idea is that once this nucleus is released and we become more radioactive, then we can stay for a series of incarnations at that level of consciousness, attracting more advanced beings around us, or like the master steps into a more advanced state of consciousness and becomes an even more advanced soul. So these are two choices we have. Now, for example, let us say you're an attorney who has a team of people that you work with. Then you become a member of a group of lawyers who work for a judge. Then you become a Supreme Court judge and have various teams to use. Do you see the steps? Okay. Every leader, this is discipleship. Every disciple is a leader. Every leader plays the role of being a nucleus. In that role, she has her own ring pass knot, her own wall of limitations, like electrons and protons and positrons, etc. Now, many leaders are limited by the people around them who are serving in many capacities. They surround the leader like a chain with their maya and their glamour and their illusion, their greed and their blindness, and they hinder the leader's freedom by deciding to act from their own personality level. You see how this works? Where here's the leader or the spiritual teacher trying to encourage and urge that soul out of the bottled up personality. And the people around and about that leader is saying, I'm going to do it myself. I am who I am because I am that, the victim of that chart, or the victim of that country, or the victim of mom or dad or the teacher or whatever. We're victims of all those things that wounded us as well. But when this occurs, you can observe how the one who has an earthly teacher then is unable to stand in the pressure of that teacher. See, and eventually the pressure moves them out. They escape, they isolate themselves, but not the wise soul. All of our wounds, all of our hindrances prepare our core. It is the wounds, the hindrances that create tremendous pressure, tension, and crises in the core or the nucleus. Core equals nucleus equals soul. So the pressure in the core reaches such a state of intensity that it helps the core to break its walls of limitation. See, it's at that moment of breaking our limitation, we're either going to run away and say, I can't handle this pressure anymore, or we let it operate so that we are no longer limited by these wounds. Every obstacle and limitation, if handled in the right way, assists us in finding our freedom. Isn't this great? It is so wonderful. So we must find a way to surpass ourselves, to be able to handle the pressures of the teacher, ultimately the master, which is accomplished through meditation, discipline, service, creativity, and purity. Meditation. I'm going to wrap this up very quickly here. Meditation is a process to increase the radiation of your core. So if you have been hesitant about engaging in meditation, and yet you want to be on this path of transformation, then begin to meditate, because meditation is a process to increase the radiation of our core so we can surpass our limitations. Discipline is a process to prepare our bodies for repulsion. Okay, so we have meditation, and in meditation we undergo this preparation because of the radiation. And at some point there is going to be an experience of repulsion. This is a very advanced state. Repulsion is a very advanced state of being for our soul. It is an esoteric term which means the release of the souls who no longer need to orbit or be in the orbit of the same core. Such a release needs a high degree of achievement and understanding as well as pure detachment. Service is the process of breaking the walls or the ring past knot and preparing the soul for other achievements. Service is the process of breaking the walls or the ring past knot and preparing the soul for other achievements. Creativity is a process of manifesting the level of consciousness and beingness which you have reached and translate that level. You have to manifest it, or you're going to translate that level into your day-to-day life, into your thoughts and words and actions in such a way that you prepare a path for others to tread the Mount of Resurrection. Okay? Are you still with me? Purity. Unless we purify our vehicles, we cannot release our soul. As long as our bodies are polluted by corresponding impurities, they make the release possible. And we get further and further and further bottled up. This is, if we do, I don't have time for this. If you do not understand, if you do not understand purification, then try to study and read about it. In essence, purification is the elimination of all those elements. I saved it. Okay. Purification is the elimination of all those elements which cause friction. Purification is the elimination of all those elements which cause friction, short circuits, distortion, disturbances, pollution, leakage, or a waste of great amounts of energy. Purification is related to the substance of a given plane. There's so much in it. So, for example, transmutation is related to raising the substance to a higher plane. Thank you.